West Chester is a 19th century walking town with colonial roots. The late 1720s to the 1750s witnessed the arrival of the Hoops, Matlack, Eaches, and other families who purchased land and developed an agricultural community. This cover page illustration is a watercolor by nationally renowned artist Philip Jameson, taken from the 1999 Bicentennial Souvenir. In 1753, Phineas Eaches obtained 150 acres and his father's house at the intersection of the Great Valley Wilmington Road and the road from Bradford to Philadelphia. Phineas applied for a tavern license in 1761 and was turned down. He was then granted a license the following year. In 1769, John Hoops had acquired the tavern. His petition stated that he has purchased the tavern known by the name the Turk's Head in Goshen, and the house being rendered unfit for that purpose by its decay and other inconveniences thereto belonging, I built a new brick house near the other. This circa 1810 sign was painted by Thomas Sully and is at the Chester County Historical Society. As early as 1766, citizens from the interior of Chester County petitioned to have the county seat moved to a more central location. Nothing was done, and the area around Turk's Head remained a quiet hamlet. The movement started again in 1780, and the county purchased ground in East Callan Township. Nothing further happened until 1784, when the land was purchased near the Turk's Head and the East Callan land was sold. After a series of political battles between the removalists and the Chesterites, the new courthouse and a prison were completed and opened in the fall of 1786. The area was known as a county district, and in 1788 the state designated the county district as a county town. West Chester would evolve as the name of the county town, and in 1799 it was formalized as the Borough of West Chester. This 1840 illustration shows the Turk's Head on the right and the county buildings on the left as we look north on High Street from Market Street. This year's town tour covers the northwest quadrant of the Borough of West Chester. It covers the area west of High Street and north of Market Street. You will see everything from a colonial farmhouse to new construction at a historical site. We start at the Chester County Historical Society on High Street, then go south to Market Street, west on Market Street to New, north on New to Gay, west on Gay to Church, north on Church to West Virginia Avenue, over to High Street, and returning to the Uptown Nauer Performing Arts Center across the street from where we started. Hello, my name is Wes Chester, and I'll be your guide on this tour. As a 300-year-old Quaker farmer, I am still pretty quick on my feet. You see me now at the Chester County Historical Society, and you may not see me again until the end of the tour. Enjoy your visit. West Chester welcomes thee. This 1950 photo shows the West Chester area Boy Scouts about to enter the Warner Theater to enjoy Joan of Arc with Ingrid Bergman and Jose Ferrer. The Art Deco Theater was built in 1930 and entertainment continued into the 1980s. The theater was demolished in 1986, and in 2011, ground was broken for the new Warner Hotel. The theater lobby and staircase have been preserved as part of the hotel lobby. The row of small specialty shops continues to serve the community. The McConkey Mansion on North High, just north of the courthouse, as it appears prior to 1900. It would later be known as Assembly Hall, still later as the Courthouse Annex. It was torn down in 1963 and was replaced in 1966 with the north wing which you see. Notice the stone relief panels by Harry Rosen that represent Chester County history. This building was sold to a private developer in 2011. To your right at 2022 North High is the 1793 building, which is one of the oldest structures in the downtown. This 1883 illustration from Futhy & Cope shows the third Chester County Courthouse, the second in West Chester, and with original 1724 courthouse still standing today in Chester. It was designed by Thomas U. Walter, who would go on to design the dome at the U.S. Capitol. The first courthouse in West Chester was to the left or south of this one, and its clock tower was placed on Walter's Greek Revival building. Notice in the illustration the water fountain for man or beast. It is still there today. The statue of Old Glory, designed by Harry Lewis Rawl, cast in 1911 as the Soldiers' Monument for Delaware County, was unveiled here in West Chester instead on June 11, 1915. Please note that his bayonet is missing from his right hand. Architect T. Roney Williamson designed this addition on Market Street in 1892. It was made of Indiana limestone. Note the design work done by Italian immigrants that were brought here to work on this project. Some West Chester families can trace their roots to these very workers. Looking north from Church and Market, we see the Everhart Building, S&T Bank today on the left, and Darlington's grocery store, Senator Andrew Dinniman's office, on the right. Note the use of canopy roofs over the sidewalk. T. Roney Williamson designed this facade to tie two buildings together for the first West Chester Fire Company. Slowhand, an eatery, occupies this location at 30 North Church today. The 1833 Oddfellows building has had a number of uses. The Village Record, a leading newspaper, was there from 1834 to 1920. Charles Minor, as in Minor Street, flourished there, and Bayard Taylor, the writer, worked there as a young man. From 1929 to 1990, it was home to Joel's Ladies Apparel. Yorie's Bakery occupies the site at 14 North Church today. This Thomas U. Walter designed building was built for the Methodists in 1842 with a later T. Roney Williamson addition in the rear. The frontal portion was added in the 20th century, circa 1960, and Acme Markets operated a store there. Today, it is an office building. The northeast corner of Market and New was the site of Thomas U. Walter's Chester County Prison that opened in 1839. It was demolished in 1960 and replaced by a county structure known as the Daig Building. The new Chester County Justice Center opened there in 2008. Looking west on Gay Street at New and Hannum, one can see the site of the old West Chester Hotel. It was eventually sold and turned into a borough parking lot. Looking south on New, one can see Ogden's Row, an early brick row that dates to the late 1820s. It was named for Thomas Ogden, an early cabinet maker. Today, it is mainly offices and apartments. Looking west, one can see the state historical marker for internationally known artist Horace Pippin. The marker is across the street from his former home at 327 West Gay Street. Looking northwest, the Hannum Hill Stone Row, the 300 block of Hannum Avenue, is one of three circa 1830s-1840s stone rows in the neighborhood. Civil rights activist Bayard Rustin lived a portion of his youth in the Hannum Hill area. Looking to the northeast was the site of Christ Church, which was built in 1799. The land was purchased from John Hannum and predates the borough by 6 years. The present church is the third church on the site and was designed by Henry Daggett. It was built in 1927 in the English Gothic Revival style. The stained glass windows were designed by Paula H. Bolano. She was born in Leipzig, Germany in 1877 and died in 1967, although she lived most of her life here in Pennsylvania. She was also the first woman in the U.S. to have her own stained glass studio. The interior statues are Carrara marble by the Joseph Sibbel Studio. Most people are not aware that the only known burial within the Borough of West Chester today is that of Monsignor Henry Schuyler, who is buried in front of St. Agnes Church. Here is a photo of Holy Trinity Episcopal Church on West Gay Street in 1899 when it had become an armory. It was designed and erected in 1839 by William Strickland. Strickland studied under William Latrobe and mentored Thomas U. Walter. At this site in 1910, the Strickland Building and the Lewis Mansion were removed and the main portion of St. Agnes School was constructed using Port Deposit granite. On the south side of West Gay stood the West Chester Academy that was founded in 1812. This is the forerunner of West Chester University. It was later demolished and the building at 212 West Gay has a plaque that references its existence. The circa 1820s brick buildings at 141 and 145 West Gay were built by the Methodists, who had their meeting house and cemetery in the rear of the property. Across the street at 156 West Gay, this circa 1820s building was saved when the property owned by the Hoole family was razed to make way for the modern Darlington Commons project on the corner. At the southeast corner of Gay and Church once stood the White Hall Tavern. This circa 1790s front portion was also known as the General Wayne and the Cross Keys. Many commercial buildings have come and gone at this site. At what was 34 West Gay, Charles H. Burns, a former slave from Culpeper, Virginia, owned and operated his Burns Great Oyster House here from 1891 to 1915. From 1940 to the early 1980s, Jake Schur's Army and Navy store was there. Starting in 1920, the Mosteller family of Chester Springs came to West Chester and started their dry goods store. With their business acumen and hard work, they purchased assorted buildings on Church as well as Gay Street. This evolved into Mosteller's Department Store, the leading department store in Chester County. When they closed in 1981, the complex became county offices and then was vacant for a number of years. Local developers purchased the site and demolished the buildings. What you see now is the final construction phase of West Chester's newest anchor project, 44 West. In 1825, when Lafayette, on his return to our country, came to West Chester, he stayed at the home of Burgess, now known as the mayor, Ziba Pyle, at 4143 East Gay. He stayed in a second-floor corner bedroom above what is now Fairman's. The original building has been enlarged. This circa 1860s market house at 120 North Church was built to compete with the market that ran down the middle of Market Street. It failed when the Market Street Group built their own new and bigger brick market house. It became a livery stable and had other assorted uses. During World War II, this is one of the locations where Raymond Rittu made penicillin. For many years, Herb Wiley operated an automotive repair shop here. The property has been renovated and serves as an office building. The lobby features a Janet Reed mural. The Friends School and Library at 216 North Church was built in 1889 on the site of a serpentine one-story school. For many years, it was home to the Fraternal Lodge of Red Men. It is presently an office building and home to the Chester County FOP. The Serpentine Chestnut Street Meeting was built in 1844 by the Orthodox Friends. The building was raised in 1968 by the Borough of West Chester for a parking lot. It also serves as the home to the West Chester Growers Market, held every Saturday throughout much of the year. 206 North Church was the Kesher Israel Synagogue and was built in 1925 to replace a structure that had been converted to a synagogue at 136 West Chestnut in 1921. In 1988, a new synagogue was built on Pottstown Pike in West Goshen Township. We do not know the present owner or use. The John Rutter Mansion, or Fountain Green, is a colonial farmhouse that was built by Daniel Hoops between 1760 and 1773. The brick structure originally stuck out into the middle of Church Street. Rutter was a horticulturalist and was noted for his study of peaches. In 1855, he moved the entire structure 60 feet west to its present location as the West Chester Borough wanted to continue Church Street northward. The property has had many interesting owners and names. It is presently owned and used as offices by the Swedenborg Foundation. You see the original high school on the left and the later high school that burned down in 1947 in the background. In 1917, the junior high opened at the site of the original high school. Today you see a parking lot where the burned-down high school was located, and the junior high became the Biddle Street Elementary School. This structure is now an office, an apartment complex known as Washington Square. The auditorium school occupied the corner south of the Swedenborg Foundation and was part of the school complex located across the street. It was torn down when the Britton Square was built. Today you see the West Chester Public Library designed by T. Rooney Williamson in 1888. This Queen Anne-style structure is constructed of West Chester brick and Avondale stone, with stucco work and copper accents on the tower. Also of note are 5 Tiffany-style windows. The library's roots go back to the 1815 Library Company. This is truly one of West Chester's gems. The Hannah Darlington Mansion is still a residence today. Hannah donated the corner of her property on which the library stands today. The 1881 Jerome B. Gray Mansion across the street from the library is another T. Rooney Williamson design. The Joseph Rothrock Mansion is in the background. This 1410 North Church location is now home to the Della Vecchia Riley Smith and Boyd Funeral Home. 428 North Church Street was the home to Joseph T. Rothrock, the father of forestry in Pennsylvania. He lived from 1839 to 1922 and has been described as a botanist, explorer, professor, and surgeon. He had degrees in botany from Harvard and in medicine from the University of Pennsylvania. Sandwiched between those degrees, he served in the 20th Pennsylvania Cavalry during the Civil War and suffered serious wounds at Fredericksburg. In 1895, he became Pennsylvania's first forestry commissioner. North Hill, the estate of industrialist Joshua Hartshorne, is located at 535 North Church on what was once part of John Rutter's holdings. The Italianate-style mansion was an 1866-67 design by Addison Hutton. In 1936-37, it was expanded upward and outward as it became the fourth location for the Barclay home. It served the Barclay until 1997, when they built a new facility in the northeast quadrant of the borough. It is presently an office building. Here is one of the four sisters designed by Addison Hutton, who studied under Samuel Sloan. The four mansions were built on the north side of West Virginia Avenue, between Church and New, on land that again was once part of John Rutter's estate. All four were built in the early 1870s using serpentine from Brinton's Quarry located south of West Chester. In 1870, Hutton designed and built what would become as Old Main on the Normal School, now West Chester University, campus. And we end our tour across the street from where we started. I hope you could keep up with me. We are at 226 North High, home to the Uptown Knauer Performing Arts Center. This building was originally designed by Philip H. Johnson in 1916 as a National Guard facility. After the death of Major John C. Groff, the armory was named in his honor. The military thread of units stationed here goes as far back as 1747. 2013 saw the beginning of the process of going from a state-owned armory to a community-based performing arts center. After a lot of hard work and effort, the transaction was consummated, and March 20th, 2017 would mark the grand opening. I hope you enjoyed your visit. Have a good evening.